Welcome to Philanthropy In Focus, where we shine a light on the people and organizations making a difference in our communities. From executive leaders to frontline team members, each episode offers an inside look at the mission, challenges, and opportunities shaping the nonprofit sector today. Whether you're a donor, volunteer, or simply looking to connect with causes that matter, this series is designed to inform and inspire, reflecting Heritage's commitment to helping families align their wealth with purpose and impact. I'm your host, Carrie Miller, Director of Philanthropy at Heritage Wealth Advisors, and today we're honored to be joined by Rupa Murthy, CEO at the YWCA. Hi, Rupa. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, to start, can you share a little bit about the YWCA and the role it plays in the Richmond community?
Yeah. The YWCA has been around for 137 years, Carrie. So, we have been doing this work of making sure that children are safe, childcare, literally taking care of children for 137 years, and making sure that women had a safe place to be. The movement really started around making sure that women who were coming to the city for work had a safe place to stay. And so that has not changed in 137 years. We still work that mission every single day. Our work is really centered around empowering women, eliminating racism, and making sure folks have, peace, justice, freedom, and dignity, right? Like all the things we all want. And so every family that we touch and, hopefully those that they touch out in our community as well, have some of that YWCA magic there.
So that is awesome and from a very high level. But what does it mean? So I want to hear too, because I know you do so many really neat things in the community to carry out that mission. So is there a kind of program milestone or personal story that you would like to highlight that kind of represents that mission in action?
Yeah. Well, we really do three things, right? We amplify women's leadership. And so for a long time, we've been celebrating the Outstanding Women Awards. Actually, that whole thing was started to fund our domestic violence work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It was a group of volunteers that decided to put on a small fundraiser literally in the gym of the YWCA.
I've been there.
Yeah. And, it was like the only indoor basketball court forever. And so that women would play on and like summer camps, et cetera. And so they did like a fashion show and it funded the hotline, and that hotline now serves, thousands of people every year. And, one of the stories, there are so many stories, but one of the stories that really calls to me is very early in my career at the YW. I came in because I was really excited about integrated preschool, right? Like that just means families from all over Richmond get to sit side by side, high quality, full day, full year. So working families had a place to go. And I had young kids, and so that meant a lot to me. I am a deeply passionate education advocate. And so, I really believe education is the way forward. And so early in my career at the YW, I saw this mom coming into our building on 5th Street, where we have all of our domestic violence resources today. And she was coming in with like a little, infant carrier, like our baby was in the infant carrier, and she was coming in front door and going to her therapy sessions. She had called the hotline. She was out in a rural part of Chesterfield County, and she didn't have a way out. Our team was able to wrap services around her, support services around her, and give her a place to stay, right? Shelter almost immediately. She had never had any control over her finances, so really teaching her how to, pay her bills and think about her checkbook. And, this is a decade ago, so I guess we used checkbooks back then. But really able to help her sort of become her own person. The way I like to talk about it is become head of household.
Yeah.
But the thing about this child was, she's in this infant seat, and she couldn't. If you're talking about really tough stuff, right, the domestic violence, the cycle of violence, generational violence sometimes, in therapy sessions, you should be able to do that with full autonomy and safety, and your kids really don't need to be in the room, no matter how old, right? No matter how old, they're going to pick up some of that vibe. And so our receptionist at the time would keep the baby in the infant seat next to her while mom got her therapy sessions and worked with her case manager and went to court to figure out how to get out of her lease, all of those things. The receptionist, at some point, I noticed mom was coming in and the baby was not coming in with her. And I was like, well, what happened? And making sure that the child was safe, number one concern, but also we gotten to know this child, which is part of the YW. She began school. And every time we, at the time, didn't have infant classrooms, so it was about when the child was 18 months. Every time that mom would come in, she could go back then downstairs to the Sprout School and get, it's this sort of classroom experience with other kids that she had never experienced before. And her mom was getting, the services that she needed and wanted. And it was like an hour a week sometimes, not much more than that. And eventually we opened up the Sprout School at the Children's Museum. And this little girl, her name is Mara, she started at the Children's Museum 3 days a week. Mom was not comfortable with 5, right? Yeah. She was still getting it together and figuring it out and starting her work, starting to pay rent. So now we're talking, 3 years in, and mom's still coming in, right? There's still a lot of trust and a lot of work to be done. And Mara was at the Sprout School. And eventually mom felt like she could not have to receive services on a weekly basis, and that was fine with us, and we were able to still provide care for her child as she went out and worked. And as Mara was graduating from her preschool, so she was 5, I had heard that she had really not had, she wasn't talkative, she was a very shy little girl. But I walked in and she came up to me and she was like, I have a dead bug. And sure enough, they had been doing a little science study about roly-polies, and there was a dead bug in her hand. And I was like, all right, Mara, we're all good, right? That was a full circle moment for me, from shy, didn't have a lot of words, was really, trying to figure it out herself as the child of a mom who was doing all the hard work to be a single mom, taking care of her kids and her family in her own space that was safe. Mara was sort of the light, and I guess the roly-poly, suffered a little bit.
Gosh, there's so much to unpack about that. Just the being there for moms or any woman, or I mean, I'm sure it may not just be women, but
everybody
who you don't know what to do when you're in this moment of crisis, and particularly if it's generational. You can't call your parents necessarily,
right?
And so just being there to help, because there's so many resources in the community that are really important, but connecting the dots and I mean, if it's a very violent situation, you got to get out right away. I mean, you got to get out anyway, right away. Emotional violence too. And I know having a little one at home, and he goes to school, he's 16 months, and I used to call it daycare, but they teach him so much. And his teachers used to be like, it's a school, Carrie, it's a school. And I mean, and I sort of felt a little guilty about working and being happy that he went here, and having this time away. Shouldn't I want to be with him all day, every day? But it's really because you watch the children thrive so much that it really is like school. And he learns so many different things, and it's just so fun. It's so fun to watch. We didn't teach him high five, but he knows how to high five.
All and that, good sign language around more. I mean, it really is amazing.
And that's silly, but he plays with animals and makes noises and stuff now. I'm we didn't teach him that. Yeah. So, and I'm finally, oh my gosh, so happy that he likes books. I was really concerned that he didn't really care about books until a few weeks ago, but now it's this same stinking book that, I mean, we read it 3 times this morning.
And
so
isn't it fun? You're sort of seeing these developmental milestones unfold in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that preschool or early educators, these teachers know. Yep. I mean, they know it because they've done it. I mean, some of them for 30 years at the Sprout School.
Yeah.
I think about Miss Terry, who has done infant care for 30 years, and she knows if a child should be rolling over or being able to grasp a book or, engaging in sort of that mirror play that kids do in those in different rooms. And she's on it. And so if they're not, she's working with them. But it really feels like, as you just said, pulling up the same book over and over again, making the lion sounds when you see the lion, right?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of music. I mean, so much music, right? The joy of singing and,
Oh, yes.
and the group kind of getting together to do that, even at 1 or,
Right.
5 months, or as they start to walk, which it sounds like your baby might be starting to do soon.
Oh, he's doing that a lot. Oh, he runs. But I also think, I was also like, oh, I'm going to miss these milestones. But the joy of seeing like him see you recognize like Wheels on the Bus. Like I can sing Wheels on the Bus, and he's like, oh my gosh. It's almost like, Mom, you know that too? Like we sing that at school. And so
good.
you get to experience the milestones with them.
That's
and
right.
It's really fun.
And they're teaching you, right? Like that was my favorite part about my kids being in childcare and early education at a little school down the street from us. And I mean, I learned so much. And I got to meet other parents that were going through some of the same things I was, right? Like, is this food weird, or have you seen this? And the thing about the Sprout School that I really love is that it is every child from across our community, because we allow for every subsidy that's possibly out there, state subsidy, federal subsidy, city subsidy, and we take them all. It's so complicated for parents, for providers, and
it's scary. Like you get that raise or something, and all of a sudden, just because you're making $1 more an hour or something, you leave a subsidy, like you no longer qualify for one. And so then what do you do? So like these wraparound services that help you figure out those gaps are so important.
You're absolutely right. The reality of having, a parent have to do the mental gymnastics to figure out if next year is possible every year is so difficult. And I know, we're all doing this work around budgeting. We're all trying to figure out what childcare is really supposed to be about 7% of our income, right? I know that you know
saw
the
that,
drill.
and I was like, this is ridiculous.
No, it's not at all, right? Most of the time, it's like at least 20%.
Yeah.
And then you think about mortgage or rent or whatever, groceries today. It's almost impossible. And so being able to braid every dollar available to every child. And then also, my kids went to Sprout School as well. And so being able to have my daughter sit in classrooms with kids from across our community, get invited to birthdays in places that I've lived in Richmond my whole life, I had never been.
Nice.
Right, at Jeff Davis Highway, a dad had a car auto mechanic shop, right?
That's awesome.
Ran a car wash out of there, raised the Sprout School $400 the first year we opened. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really builds, right? Network, community, the thing that says hey, Carrie, I want to work in the nonprofit field. Do you know anyone? And you might connect them to your friend Rupa, right? That's what community means.
Well, I'm so glad that you found the YWCA and that the YWCA found you.
Thank you.
For that. I mean, God, you can't ever leave. So for those who feel inspired, and I really don't know how you couldn't, especially if you've navigated having a little one right now in the world right now, what are some meaningful ways people can get involved, whether through volunteering, giving, or just spreading the word?
Thank you for asking. It's my favorite question. No, so, let's start with giving time. I mean, volunteering. We have plenty of things to do all of the time, right? Everything from trying to get all of the incredible in-kind donations, so donated items that come in for, safety kits for survivors if they often need a toothbrush and deodorant. And so making those safety kits to making sure that they're stocked on the shelf, volunteers are all part of that. And then we also have, because our survivors have such an individual story, right? Every person comes in with a different need, whether that's groceries or gas money or honestly plane tickets to their mom's house in Missouri. That has been a thing. A bus ticket to, Kentucky to make sure that their sister, and then paying some groceries to help sisters get sort of acclimated into a new life, right? We are able to be very flexible, and it's because we get donations of gift cards often that allow us to meet the need in the moment, whether that's an air mattress on the ground for somebody to be able to stay tonight with their kid in a 1-bedroom hotel room. I mean, that often does happen. So gift cards, sort of kit making, helping us sort of get organized and mail out letters and do some of these events that we do. Volunteers and in-kind donations are a huge piece of the pie. The other way that folks can donate is to make a cash donation. And I stock or cash, we are, been around 137 years. And so we have an incredible group of folks that come back every year and make that $100 donation, right? Or that $1,000 donation. And then we have these one-off projects, and they're big projects, and we're really trying to solve for complex issues as we've been talking about. And so making those big contributions. And when donors do, one of the things I just want to name is, there's a lot of ways to think about philanthropy. And so when we think about state tax credits and how nonprofits like the YW can actually trade state tax credits, right, a great tool provided by our state to engage folks in charitable giving, to make sure that their dollar stretches the most at an organization like ours. And so it's a 65% return on every dollar donated, and we can put every single dollar to work. And so it really is a win-win. So those are some tools around that. And then I have to just shout out for the other pieces expertise. The YWCA would not be here without some of the most brilliant people at the table. We are getting ready to build a housing community out in the East End of Henrico. The amount of pro bono support we have from our attorneys at Hunton, right? Just leaning all the way in, walking hand in hand, making sure that the LLCs are created and all those details are, are really the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, to things like cross easement access, right? Like, this is stuff that I do not know. There is not a soul at the YW that needs to know that regularly. And so for folks at, Hunton and others to lean in that way is just amazing and incredibly important as we think about the expertise we need. Our board members, brilliant at investing. We have a small investment account, right? Being able to pull some of that out every year to pay our operating costs is something the YW gets to benefit from because of the years, right, of people who have donated, and the women, many of the women who are on our board who we stand on the shoulders of today, making sure that solid investment, gives out a small return every year so the YW can do its work. So investment experience, HR experience, right? We're hiring, we're building new Sprout schools, we're hiring new teachers, we're making sure that our training and onboarding works well. That's the kind of stuff that nonprofits, right? We can't afford a CHRO or the chief human resources or chief marketing. And when we get volunteers and we get experts in the room to do that work with us, it changes the game. And we're able to be able to serve more people, create more access, and take care of our people that do this hard work every day.
Yeah. We gave our teachers at at school, preschool, a shout out in our annual Christmas card because they are it is hard to. Think about all the challenges of recruiting good people, keeping good people. How do you, everybody talks about teachers and, public school teachers and stuff. Well, the preschool teachers, those, they deserve a special place in
100.
Heaven.
100.
And so how do we take care of them as a community? It's a challenge, and they have their own challenges,
right.
They experience figuring out what you're going to eat every night is just
right.
Affording it is one thing, but then also just meal planning for the week is gosh.
Do it every day. I was just watching this awesome little Insta around, what's for dinner, the worst question in the world, and how we're going to have to be answering it for a very long time as we raise our families. But these teachers, the passion that they show up with, the ability to hone their skills, I'll tell you, one of the most interesting things to me right now is that early education is actually a field that if you want to get your certification in, especially at Reynolds or another community college, you can do that for free in Virginia.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And it's not promoted because it's a low-wage job. Ugh. And so, as you know, the cost of childcare is too dang high, right? And so, and we do not pay our teachers enough. Yeah. And so it's not promoted because it's a low-wage job. It's not like an HVAC or a plumber or an electrician. Those are all also, highly discounted or free trades that you can learn at community colleges. But because early education doesn't have the outcomes of HVAC and plumbing and electricians, we've got an issue. And so we are doing everything we can to partner with Reynolds and create those teacher pathways because we are opening new schools. We are able to promote. Often I think right now we've got 2 teachers who started as teachers' aides, worked their way up, and are now running our centers, right? They're literally running small businesses.
Yeah.
They could do that on their own. The enterprise opportunity there is amazing. And so being able to pour into our teachers, being able to make sure that this is a good fit, right? Like that's the other thing. It is a long day and a lot of work. It's not, honestly, I've been in a classroom not that long ago for about an hour. I was exhausted. It was hard. I had no idea what I was doing. I have 3 kids. They turned out fine, right? But this work is hard. And so I think the idea of being able to do what you can during the holidays as parents, right? That's absolutely the case. Making sure that, we provide full benefits. So the YW and organizations like ours ensuring that our teachers sort of have a, nest egg when they retire because they worked at an organization like ours is part of the benefits that we provide. And then on the day-to-day, just ensuring, safety, security, and that we are doing our very best to make sure our teachers have what they need in their classrooms in terms of supplies, make sure that our teachers have what they need in terms of the nutrition services that we provide during the day, and then also thinking about mindfulness and wellness and self-care on those teacher work days. So it's not all about, right, curriculum building, which is important, but it is also about them.
Well, and I know we've spent a lot of time talking about the Sprout School because it's great, and it's incredible what you've done there to grow those programs, and that you want to add another one in this project in the East End. But I know there's also, the domestic violence and all these other programs that you do to support people in the community, and, social workers and all of these case managers that help you tap into that. Those are also jobs that are, not promoted as much, and can be, it's exhausting on the folks who do the work. Like you're saying, the teachers and the
to your point,
program managers,
the folks that are doing the work on our hotline, a 24/7 hotline, we have about 14,000 calls that come in or out every year. About 1,600 of those are domestic violence survivors, by the way. So, right, fielding a lot of other things that are going out and going on in our community. Somebody needs to talk to somebody right now.
Right.
We're going to answer the phone. And so we are, those folks are on that front line. Our emergency housing case managers literally walk the walk with survivors as they come into shelter, oftentimes on their darkest day. Because imminent danger is near. And so for me, those folks are clinicians who are experiencing and hearing the trauma secondhand. There is vicarious trauma happening with our employees, and we are trying to solve for that. I will tell you, there are not enough resources in my toolkit to do that work. I think partnering with other agencies, right? Like I think of Child Savers, who's a fantastic partner in this. One of our Outstanding Women Award honorees, Amanda Lynch, who does this work every day, really thinking about how we care for the caretaker is important. And to your point, right, social services, all social services, public services, oftentimes underpaid, oftentimes show up because their mission and their heart and their vision for our community to be a better place to live. And I do feel like it's our job as the YWCA to have these conversations and then figure out what those resources are to keep folks safe and in the work.
Yeah. Well, what's, thinking about all this, what is one question you wish donors would ask you?
I think I'll be very honest. My favorite thing about meeting donors, right, is actually to hear where the connection is. So I want them to ask me what the YWCA is, why we do the work we do, and how we're going to continue to think about, right, the day-to-day operations and success and innovation. Because I think there'll be a connection there, and I think that donation will mean so much more to all of us when we make that kind of relationship happen.
Well, that's why many fundraisers. I mean, you're,
Yeah.
fundraiser at heart
Yes,
in
I
all
am.
of this.
Yes.
And you, I'm just so impressed with folks who run local nonprofits. You are geniuses in understanding nonprofit law, which is a whole other thing. And all navigating all the different resources, state resources, local resources, federal ones. And you brought up neighborhood assistance programs, the state tax credits, which we have a blog post online about that at Heritage, because it's just really, it supports a lot of different programs in the community, but it is complicated if you have never heard of it, and it sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
But it's there and it's a resource. And I know if you don't use, you want to use them, because if you don't use them, you might get less the next year.
That's right.
So a lot of organizations can benefit from them. And I think it's just a really great incentive, locally to make those gifts. So, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing more about the YWCA. And it's really, a joy to sit across from you and hear about all of it.
Thank you, Carrie. This is awesome. I've had a really fun morning. It was. It's always great to be in a different space to be able to talk about this. But I also think your passion for philanthropy shines through, and so providing this platform, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you. And it's just like what you said. I love. There should always be joy in philanthropy, and that's where it shouldn't be a slog. So how do you make sure that donors feel that joy? That's what I get to do. I get to continue to do, even though I'm not a quote fundraiser anymore.
But at heart,
yeah, you can never get rid of that.
That's right.
So for those who want to learn more or get involved, we've included links in the show notes. And I'm Carrie Miller, and this has been Philanthropy in Focus. We'll see you next time.